Right. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Thanks for joining me today. Someone has notified me that there might have been another problem with the time. I'm gonna have to check that. I thought I checked it and they're all the time correct. I had an assistant set all that up for me. I've got all the dates for all the YouTube lives set up for the whole year, one a month, and so the times were, they were supposed to be correct, but I guess check that. Don't know what happened. Anyway, I thought I'd double check that this month would be correct. Crazy night and morning. My wife's external hard drive got fried last night, so I had to take it apart and find a solution for it. Luckily, it's not. It's an easy fix, so that's good. And so that took me some time to work out last night, staying up late. Crazy morning, getting my son to nursery. Alright, let's double check our tuning. I'm sure all of you guys are in tune, but I'm just getting here. Tuned to standard Arabic tuning. We've got second string here, G. First string down here is C. Third string is D. Fourth string is A, of course. Fourth string F or G. So there's been a request for some teasers for the upcoming Persian folk songs course that I've got happening. So I'd be happy to play some snippets of some tunes. From you guys, how long you've been playing the oud for, and any questions you have for me today about anything about oud. I want to see some questions in the chat if you are inclined, because this is also a time for you to get anything out that you want to ask, especially while I'm tuning. for the first time today. And so, did you think of some questions? Let's see. All right. And yes, so there's a couple things I want to talk about today. Just some insights that some things I've been thinking about over the last couple weeks or so that you might find interesting, you might find useful. I'll give you a hint of what those two are. First thing is strings. I'm planning on making a nice long YouTube video about strings, like everything you really need to know about oud strings, my recommendations and all. One thing I realized recently was that choosing strings really depends on the oud, and so you do really have to experiment with what brings out the best sound. I mean, I've known that for forever, but I really experienced it recently in that, like, I put the same set of strings on like 4 or 5 ouds that I have, that I use regularly. Same set of strings, the pyramid or yellow label, black nylon, so C and G are black nylon, and then the rest are like a brass, I think they're brass wound with nylon core. And I really like the brass nylon strings, they sound great. And on some of the ouds, I really do like the black nylon too, but on some of the ouds, it just wasn't doing it for me. There was a bit of like funny sounds happening, not as soft, and the tunability wasn't very good. So for example, on this oud here, the action is quite low. It's quite an ideal action. It's not too low, but it's not too high. And then, so what I found was that ouds with low action, it's better to have a narrow string, especially in the trebles. You get a very nice clear sound. And how you can get a smaller diameter of string is by using the PVC fluorocarbon strings. For example, string sets that use the fluorocarbon PVC are Kirschner strings, Kirschner oud strings. And it sounds great. Like, I really like it on these ouds, so these Turkish-made ouds. Very nice, bright, clear, perfectly clear sound. Like it's just the PVC treble strings. They hold a little bit more tension, even though they're a little thinner. So it's an interesting mix. I've got the brass nylons here. So if you ever think that something's up with your strings, it might be a good idea to change them. The PVCs, you can get them in different places. There's the Kirschner strings, like I said. Those are quite an expensive string set, unfortunately. I don't know why they're so expensive. But you can get them online. I'll put the name here just so you can. And then there are 2 sets, the Arab 1 and the Arab 2. Kirschner. Arab 1, I think Arab 1 is like a normal tension. You can call it high tension if you will. And I think Arab 2 is light tension. If you've got a shorter scale oud like me, like the 58.5, this one, then the higher normal tension would be good for you. I think so. I always forget. I wish they would just they would publish the tensions and the gauges on the string sets, but they don't, and it's really frustrating when they don't do that. They really need to stop keeping all that information hidden. Another place you can get PVC. I think Labella is making a PVC oud string set. You can also just go by the right diameter of fishing line, if that works for you. I've done that, like whenever I need a oud in the high F tuning. I've got some fishing wire here somewhere that I use for that. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, fishing wire, PVC works great. I do that. You can probably find it thick enough for these. I have to measure the diameter of the Kirshner strings because I want to replicate that and just buy made in Japan fluorocarbon fishing line and just have unlimited amounts of that. I'll never buy a spool of those for each of my strings, and then I'll never have to buy the trebles again. Another thing is I'm teaching a lot of people how to improvise these days. A lot of private students are doing private lessons, learning improvisation, and it's one of my favorite things to teach. It's very fun, and one of the things that I've realized that I should tell people more often is what to listen to if you really want to learn improvisation. A lot of people, will listen to Oud Takasi, those kind of albums. Those are fantastic, and I highly recommend listening actively, like trying to figure out what people are playing. If you're at that level where you can learn stuff by ear, that's really excellent. Listen to these Oud Taksim albums for oud playing. But those who come from a Western background or a non-Arab, a non-Middle Eastern background, non-Turkish background, non-Persian background, whatever may be, what they find having trouble making their playing sound authentically Middle Eastern. And I had this problem too because I was completely in a Persian music bubble as an oud learner as well. And when I got exposed to Turkish and Arabic music, it was, again, completely foreign. It was like a completely different language for me. Even though some of the vocabulary is the same, with the melodies and whatnot, the maqams, the modes, everything, there's a lot of overlap. Even though that's the case, it was, again, completely foreign to me. So one thing that I highly recommend people to listen to now is a type of musical form, which in Arabic it's called mawal. And this is just vocal improvisation, and it could be accompanied with instruments too. And this might sound controversial to some people, but Quranic recitation. And the reason for listening to vocal is because that's something that you can copy with your voice. And if you want to get put in the Arabic style nuances into your oud playing, then you have to listen to the Arabic language, and you have to get the rhythm of the Arabic language in your head. And the only way is by listening. You can listen to prose too. You can listen to you can put on like Al Jazeera Arabic news channel and get some of that. So get some of the rhythm of the language. Yeah, Metin, exactly like Shajarian with Daska. You listen to Shajarian and it'll help you in the same way. And luckily in Persian music, Shajarian's albums has like 20-minute vocal improvisations with instruments, so that's perfect. That's exactly what I did when I was a teenager learning how to improvise in Persian music. I would just put on Shajarian and I would try to copy what he's doing. So yeah, if you want to get that Arabic flavor in your taksim and you want to slowly, organically absorb that, then listen to mawal and Quran recitation. It's beautiful, and it will give you the juicy way of playing melodies that you need. And you copy them, and you will slowly absorb them. Now, I found what I wanted to share is I found a fantastic album for mawal. The whole album is completely mawal, and I want to share it with you right now. Got to bring it up. So this is going to be a great resource for anyone who just wants to slowly get the Arabic way of improvising under their belt. Right here, I'm going to share a link to Spotify, and I'm going to share a link to this album on YouTube too, because not everybody uses Spotify. So here's the Spotify link, and then the YouTube link. I'll bring that up. And the cool thing about this, it'll also test your maqam knowledge, because they don't tell you what maqam is being in the titles of the tracks. It's just the name of the poetry, I guess, or the first lyrics of the poetry. Not really sure. And so it's a bit difficult to know what the maqam is unless you know. So it will test your knowledge. And the most important thing, if you don't know what you're hearing, what maqam you're hearing, don't worry about that. Just try to follow the melody with your voice. Try to sing along with it. It's the best way. You don't really need to know the names. Later on, you'll learn that. Okay, here's the link on YouTube for that album. This album is called the Art of Mawal. Yeah, the Art of Mawal, from Morocco, live at Institut du Monde Arabe, Paris. Beautiful album, fantastic work. There's beautiful stuff in there, and I've been really enjoying it. The singing is fantastic. The style is really something that I like too. There's oud in there. There's qanun in there. So it's just a beautiful album to listen to, and it will help you in your quest to learn how to improvise. All right. So yeah, those are the two things I wanted to talk about: strings and improvising, and share this album with you. Yeah. So now I want to get to your questions, and I'll also play a little bit of music here. Bring it up. So one of the songs that I'm teaching in the new course is not a folk song, but it's a classical Persian song. It's an old song, and the poetry is very beautiful. And let me play this one. I'll give you a taste of it. And this was sang on a classic performance by Mohammad Reza Lotfi and Mohammad Reza Shajarian. I can link that too, where this song comes just because I'm here. Tomorrow and Shab Emi Badat Bob talks about beautiful song link is listen to the beautiful track. That whole album is fantastic too, by the way, where it comes from, and some other folk songs that I'm doing. Let's see. Some songs like Kuhistan, Aziz Jun, Robabe, Gol Nishan, Segodar, Sabunati, Dokhtar Boy Rahmadi, Gol Maryam, Gol Gandom, and another song I wanted to do. Lately I've been into the southern Persian music style, Bandari music from the southern Persian Gulf area, the southern provinces like Shiraz, Bandar Abbas, Khuzestan. These areas very been a melting pot from ancient times with the Arab peoples and Persian peoples and mixing of cultures there. I really love the music of the Persian, the Arabic Gulf, call it, and some of my most favorite music. And so I've found a great tune that I'm going to add to that chorus, which you can't find anywhere else. It's a little obscure, but it's a beautiful tune, and I'm transcribing it right now. It's called Chador Sefid, white headscarf. I forgot how it goes. I have to remember how this goes. It's been a couple weeks since I played it, so I'm not gonna play too much, so I won't do justice to it. Play some of the other tidbits from the other folk songs. Yeah, I'm just transcribing that one. So Gol Gandom is a classic one. That's Gol Gandom, classic piece. Let's see. Of course, Aziz June I've taught in my foundation program. That's going to show up there. Let's see. Oh yeah, Dokhtar Boy Rahmadi. Shushtari. Beautiful. Shushtari. Okay, another song. So let's get to some questions. You guys have been waiting long enough for your questions to be answered. Right, let's see. Might be a silly question. There are no silly questions. How long after starting to learn oud should I be aiming to play without looking at the strings? Fantastic question. This will be different for everybody. But like I would try to do two different types of practicing. Like every time from the very beginning, like allow your, like don't look at the strings. This is one set of practice, like separate from your other practice where you're trying to find notes. This is one exercise where you just try not to look and just try to hit the open strings and let your hand find it. Let your hand struggle with finding where the strings are. So you can start doing this, start practicing this from day one if you wish. You just, you'll hit random strings until you figure out, your hand figures out where they are. I think I was probably still searching for strings even after a year or two of playing. Like I still, like even when I would start to play a song, I was like, okay, am I starting on the right string after even a couple years? But you should be able to within 6 months to a year be able to slowly stop looking at the strings too much. So I would aim for that. You don't need to. You can practice that skill from the get-go. It's just a separate exercise from your other type of practicing. Yes, thanks for coming, guys. Really happy to see you guys here. Six months, got the 4-part course, great. Doing all right, Matt. Hanging in there. Some sleep though. All right, so Dave, you've had your oud for about 6 weeks. That's great. You said Junebush, okay. All right. Very good. Practicing oud core, oud lessons, is it super important to be able to hold the whole next? Yeah, that's a good question. It's always good to be able to master something before moving on to the next thing, because when we grade courses, you kind of assume that you're learning everything really well before going on to the next thing. But at the same time, it might not always be a bad thing. If you haven't quite mastered it, sometimes some things take longer to master. So you don't want to be spending like months working on a particular exercise. You can move on to something else. If you feel like you're hitting an obstacle, move on and do something else. If you feel like you're getting bored, move on, do something different. Some of the skills in oud and in the oud courses that I have, they take months, if not some could be years. In the case of tremolo takes years to master and to get good at. So, if I put a tremolo exercise in a course, in a lesson, that exercise is supposed to serve you for however long it takes for you to get good at doing tremolo. So these things might not be mastered all in one go before moving on. That's a great question, and I should include some explanation of that in my courses. Okay. What's the difference between a floating bridge and a regular oud? Yeah, there really is a difference. And mechanically, from a physical perspective, they produce sound differently. So in the case of fixed bridges, the strings are pulling on the soundboard to connect to the soundboard, to make the sound, to make the wood vibrate. It's pulling on it, right? But a floating bridge, the weight of the strings is pushing on the soundboard. So they're very functionally different. And the bracing underneath has to be different for that reason too. And so the bracing is different. If the bracing is different on different ouds, they're naturally going to sound different because the soundboard is going to vibrate differently. So yeah, they are very different. If you want to describe it, I described the tone of the fixed bridges as being a bit more on the muddy sound. And that's the sound that I'm used to. That's what I like. The floating bridges are a little bit, have a bit more, let's say, like an airy quality, maybe a clear quality to them. Which, if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you know, it's not your cup of tea. There is a convenience about the floating bridge. They're much easier to like maintain. Like, let's say the action of your instrument, unfortunately, after some years, maybe some damage happened to it, and the action suffered as a result. Then you can trade your floating bridge for a shorter. You can make a shorter floating bridge and put it on there. You can just swipe it out, and you can improve the action on your instrument. As opposed to a fixed bridge, you don't have all that flexibility. You have to do other things to fix action. So from that regard, it's kind of a more functional thing. The floating bridges, but you do lose that traditional sound. Good question about do I have any oud that's not Turkish made? Yeah, I do have a Zeryab oud, a beginner model Zeryab oud, which I love the sound, and I also have an Assyrian oud made by what's his name, Khalifa. Can't remember the first name off the top of my head. It's an antique oud, and it's an interesting instrument. But yeah, I do have some ouds. Not. I also have a Greek oud and an Iraqi oud back in Canada. Mom's house. Greek oud made in the Syrian style by Dimitri Rapakousios, and then I have an Iraqi oud. Floating bridge Iraqi oud made by Muhammad Fadl's son, Sheikh Hussein. And that one's an interesting one too. It's got a very typical floating bridge sound, but the craftsmanship is not very good. It's been beat up over the years. Yes, Nasheed is also a good one. Nasheed might not always be Quran, however. It might also be poetry that's praising Prophet Muhammad, or it could be Sufi poetry, perhaps. Good question. All right, Mary. When playing a song from a regular non-Arabic score on a Turkish oud, we play the G sol for C do? I heard that somewhere. Could you please explain? Yeah, really good question. Okay, about so that's something that's a video that I've done actually on a YouTube live. I did a whole video on explaining Turkish notation and how they do it. It's a lot to unpack there. So, do we play G sol or C do? So on Turkish scores, on the treble clef staff, you have the G. You know, the second line from the bottom is a G. That translates to our Arabic C. So yes, they do read it that way. Now that's just for one type of tuning. The Turks have different tunings, so whatever that notated G is always notated G on Turkish scores. They always call it G, they always call it sol, right? But depending on the tuning, that absolute pitch of that G could be a different pitch. In our case, in Arabic oud, that pitch is going to be C, do. But in other tunings, it could be D, could be something else. So there's different tunings too. But yes, for Arabic tuning, G equals C here on the A string. So basically, you have to, when you have a Turkish score in front of you, you always have to transpose. Another way to do it is to just read it in absolute pitch, but it's a bit harder for oud because you have to adapt the tuning. You have to play like an octave lower. So it's a bit harder. So yes, transpose G equals C in absolute pitch. I hope that explains. Like without visuals and without showing, showing examples and playing through some examples, it's hard to demonstrate. But if you're still confused, I might be able to take a few minutes and do that. I remember talking to you about music in Iran, and Ottoman music has evolved from Persian music. How much of Persian music is in Ottoman Turkish classical? So they didn't. Well, Ottoman music didn't really evolve directly from Persian music, but they shared a lot of repertoire at one point. The Turks coming from Central Asia had their own styles of music, and they absorbed the music as they traveled and settled west. They absorbed the music from Central Asia and the Persian influence, sphere of musical influence. Then they absorbed the Byzantine music as well, that was already in Anatolia. And then they also absorbed some of the Arabic music as well. So modern Turkish music is a mix of all these things plus its own evolution. Being a Persian musician and getting exposed later on to Arabic and Turkish music, especially Arabic and Turkish oud playing, I found that there were certain aspects of Arabic music that I found very familiar to me from Persian perspective. Then, but they were different things that I experienced that were similar in Turkish music. Like the ornamentations that Turkish oud players use are a bit more similar to the Persian ornamentations that we use. The phraseology is a little bit more similar. Like there's something familiar about it, but the way that they create melody is very different. The way that Arabs create melody again is very different than Persian music. So there's some overlap, but not a lot. But if you go back in time far enough, the peoples in the Ottoman music sphere and the Persian Empire sphere, they were playing some of the same music of the same masters, same composers. We're talking about the urban court music was very much the same. There was a lot of borrowing from a lot of Persian musicians. Iranian musicians were taken to the courts in the Ottoman Empire. We're talking going back like to the 15th century. So it's a long story, but at one point, Ottoman Empire, Persian Empire, they were playing the same music by some of the same composers. All right, playing oud for 6 months, not just I can now recognize most maqams. I would say listening to everything from everywhere helps most. Yeah, as well as singing. Yeah, very good. Oh, Shari, nice to see you again. Any other questions? So this oud is it's kind of comparable to the Sultan Plus. This has a bit more of I'd say it has a little bit more of a Turkish sound. The Sultan Plus has a little bit more of an Arabic sound. This is the woods and everything is a little bit more high quality. Of course, the flashy stuff and everything. The Sultan Plus is not completely made by Yildirim Palabiyik. Yildirim Palabiyik makes these by hand. But the Sultan Plus is also made by the other luthiers in the workshop, and Yildirim does the soundboard, I guess. and stuff like that. So the quality of woods is a bit lower with the Sultan Plus, like the ebony, different quality ebony, different grade ebony. But and the sound is a little bit different. Sounds a little bit more rustic, the Sultan Plus, but still beautiful. I love it. I really enjoy that oud. This one's a little bit more Turkish inflection, nuance, and a little bit more sophistication than the Sultan Plus. Yeah, Jamil Bashir's Caprice, part of your warm up. That's a great one to put into your warm up. Rishis, yeah. Horn is a good material. Yeah, I have a bunch of horn rishi or rishi, and these ones are lasting me forever. I've bought them like almost 10 years ago and still using them. So they're fantastic. I recommend just buying a whole collection of risha from different places, plastic ones, soft plastic ones, cow horn, and just having a bunch and then figuring out like what shape you like, what width you like, and playing with them. I'm always flip-flopping from one risha to another, depending on the day even. So you need a lot of rishas to play with and experiment with. Some are good for recording, some are good for playing with, jamming with friends. Cow horn is great for jamming with friends because it really brings out the right frequencies to penetrate, to get the sound to get out there. Project, I mean. Advice for professionals who cannot be full-time students and cannot practice for long hours. Practice consistently. You don't need to practice long hours. Set a time every day that you practice oud, and just try to stick to it. Like make it like going to the gym or something like that. Or I've never really stuck to a particular routine with practicing myself. It's always just been what I feel in the moment. But for people who have like a set schedule, it's good to set a particular time of the day, which is just your oud time, and stick to that and create a habit out of it. It's hard to do it, but if you do it, it's well worth it. You don't need to practice for long hours. You don't need to practice for more than an hour a day. You need to just focus on enjoying it the most. I read in olden times they used a feather to play the oud. Do you know what type of feather would work? Yes, you would have used like an eagle quill. And there is someone who's selling those, and they're from Jordan, but and also tortoise shell as well. But importing those into the United States or any other countries, you should check what's legal and illegal. Eagle feather from Oudprof. That's right. That's the guy who's selling. I've heard different things about them. I've heard that they're long lasting. I've also heard that they break easily. So that's why the cow horn is used. I don't know. It depends on how heavy handed you are. Here in Japan, there's a fellow who sometimes in Japan whales get beached, and he makes these risha or rishi out of the baleen part of the whales that get beached and show up here. It's interesting. It's a funny material. This one is a ridiculously huge and obtuse one. It's like very thick, and it's not a practical plectrum, but it's kind of charming in its own way. It's very heavy-handed. You don't have to do much to get sound out of this. I want a Arabic oud with good quality wood and good sound. Do you have any recs? Do you mean like suggestions? That's another. If you want to send me an email, you could send me an email and I could give you some suggestions. I would. It's a long story. Like for myself, for Arabic ouds, I don't really fuss over the woods. I fuss over mostly like, do I trust the maker? Do I, and is he building it sturdy? Because it's got to last a long time for me. And the type of wood I don't care so much about, like if it's a spruce soundboard or a cedar soundboard, or if it's a walnut back or a rosewood. Honestly, I don't care what the wood is, as long as the oud sounds good and it's been built tough and it's been built well so that it's not going to fall apart in a year or two. So for woods and whatnot, I really don't care what it's made out of. If the oud bowl is made out of like plastic and it sounds good, I'm happy. Let's see here. Turkish oud came with pyramid strings. So most oud string companies make oud strings for Turkish oud and Arabic oud. Yeah, as long as you're buying a Turkish oud string set, that's great. There's not much I can say about that. As long as it's specifically for Turkish oud, that's good. But it also depends on what tuning you're using. So if you're buying, if you have a Turkish oud and you've got Turkish strings on there, but you're playing Arabic tuning, then you may not get the best results. You may need to put an Arabic string set on there because Arabic strings are a bit thicker in most cases. All right, I gotta get going soon, so I'm gonna try to answer these last two questions and get going. These are all great questions. I'm really happy to see all these. So how should we practice our practice sessions? First things first is to warm up. Whenever I start, I always calibrate my left hand. Try to hit the D and the A. Calibrate that. You get that middle finger on your A or the index finger right on the A. Then exercise the fingers, move around, practice some scales that you know really well. So calibrating your hand is important, getting your hand in the right spot, finding that harmony. It's important. Then your hand is in the right spot. Play some scales. Get used to doing that, then maybe do some exercises like this. And you may want, if you're still a beginner, playing for 1 to 2 years, always do this exercise: down on C, up on G. That, and then practice songs that you're familiar with. Play them a couple times. Choose one song to work on that you are just reviewing and play through it. That would build your confidence in playing, and then tackle something new. So you could spend 15 minutes doing this or half an hour doing this. If you're limited for time, that's all you need really. But always try to do familiar stuff, warm up, do familiar stuff, then do new stuff. That will keep you always in shape. If you have more time, then focus more on the new stuff. All right, why did you make a comment on your website saying oud doesn't belong in Persian music? Yeah, because it's a long story, but basically when I was learning oud with my teacher Hossein Behruziniya, at a certain point, I kind of started to. I was also performing with Persian ensembles too, and I was getting really frustrated at the fact that I was never heard in an ensemble. The oud was never heard very well. It gets swallowed up by santur, tar, kamancha. These are all very shrill instruments, and the oud doesn't really fit anywhere there. You know, it also doesn't have frets like a tar and setar, so the sound, you have to work much harder to bring out the Persian ornamentations. So I kind of got a little bit like disillusioned as I was learning oud, and I thought like, okay, maybe I should explore music in order to learn the oud. I really love playing the oud. I want to make the oud find a place in Persian music. So maybe I should study music that uses oud primarily. So I started to explore Arabic music and Turkish music because oud is heavily featured in those musics, and maybe I can learn some insights about playing oud and how I can make it work better in Persian ensembles and whatnot. So some things that I found is that like Persians don't microphone the oud properly. That's one thing. They use it as a bass instrument, not as like an accompaniment instrument. Oud is not really a good bass instrument, and it doesn't have the same tonal qualities as a tar and setar, and the sound doesn't project the same way. So it has to be picked up differently, and it has to be featured in a different way. And you have to have the right oud that's going to penetrate the ensemble. But yeah, you really have to know how to mic the oud and set the equalizer properly to get the right sound and to make it blend well and to have it blend in the right place. They don't use it as a bass instrument. It's not really a bass instrument. The bass is just going to be pretty empty if you use it as a bass instrument, and that's just how I feel, because you know like I'm not a bass instrument player. It's like I'm playing the core melody. So anyway, those are some things that I kind of found. The other thing. Anyway, that's a long story. So when do we start learning non-major scales in the course? So that's I think in Foundation 2 or 3. They start going into Maqam Bayati, Sika, Nahawand, and those kind of maqams. Yeah, easy oud Fairuz song is a good idea. That's something I have thought of. I've also thought of a Kulthum one, but Kulthum songs are not easy, so that's kind of not going to work. Yeah, the good exercise for the right hand. I have a lot of videos on that. If you find, I have a tremolo exercise video. Don't have any more time to go into it now. But yeah, the exercises I suggest to practice daily. Sorry guys, I gotta get going now. I've got a student coming up in a few minutes. Yeah, these are all great questions. I'm really happy to see all this. If you want to email me, get answers on these things, just email me at support@OudforGuitarists.com, and eventually I will get back to you, and happy to send you an email. Yeah, the way I like oud in Persian music is the southern style oud playing. Also, oud is beautiful with setar and ney. That combination, oud and ney or oud and setar, is like ideal for me. That's the best, because setar is also not a very prominent instrument either. And so they blend really nicely together. And ney and oud are fantastic. Kamancha and ney and oud together are great too. Tar kind of dominates everything, so once tar is in the mix, you got to balance things properly. Anyway, I gotta run. Thanks so much for joining, guys. Really happy to see you all here, and can't wait for the next one. Watch out for new videos coming out. Thanks so much. See you next time.